The four cars who adventure up the Hemely Mountains. We publish a new bedtime read-along story every night, so make sure to tap the subscribe button so you never miss any. Part 1, Setting Off on the Adventure. Lemony, Violet, Flames, and Mango were four classic cars that had been sitting in the garage for too long. They longed for the open road and the freedom of a grand adventure. They had heard about the Hemely Mountains, a majestic range that promised breathtaking views and exciting challenges. Finally, they decided that they would take the plunge and embark on a road trip to the Hemely Mountains. They woke up early in the morning, eager to hit the road. Lemony, the oldest of the bunch, took the lead, while Mango, the youngest and most enthusiastic, followed closely behind. Violet and Flames, the middle two, kept up the pace with ease, ready for whatever the road had in store for them. As they drove through the winding roads and rolling hills of the countryside, they felt their engines purring with excitement. The sun was just starting to rise, casting a warm golden glow over the landscape. The air was crisp and fresh, and they could smell the fragrant wildflowers and the fresh dew on the grass. The cars chattered excitedly, discussing the adventure ahead. They talked about the winding mountain roads, the rushing waterfalls, and the panoramic views they were sure to encounter. They wondered what it would be like to drive through the clouds, to feel the cool mist on their windshields and the rush of the wind in their grills. As they drove, the scenery around them began to change. The rolling hills became more rugged, and the trees grew taller and thicker. They passed through small towns and villages, waving at the friendly locals who stared in awe at the sight of four classic cars driving together. After a few hours of driving, they finally saw the Hemely Mountains looming in the distance. The peaks rose up majestically, with snow-capped summits and rugged cliffs. The sight was awe-inspiring, and the cars felt a surge of excitement and anticipation. Lemony took the lead, and the cars started to climb the mountain road. The path was steep and winding, but the cars were determined. They shifted gears and revved their engines, feeling the rush of adrenaline as they navigated through the hairpin turns. As they climbed higher, the air grew cooler, and the views became more breathtaking. They could see for miles, with rolling hills and forests stretching out beneath them. The sun was high in the sky now, casting a warm glow over the mountainside. The cars drove on, with the wind in their grills and the hum of their engines echoing through the valleys. They knew that they had a long way to go, but they were excited for the adventure ahead. They were finally free, finally on the open road, and they knew that anything was possible. Part 2, A Bump in the Road. As the cars continued up the mountain, the road became steeper and rougher. Lemony, who was leading the way, started to struggle. His engine began to sputter, and he came to a halt. Violet, Flames, and Mango pulled up alongside him, concerned. Lemony explained that his engine was old and tired, and that he needed a rest. The others were worried, wondering how they could continue without their leader. Flame suggested that they should try pushing Lemony up the hill, but Mango thought that they should use a rope to tow him. They debated back and forth until finally deciding to use both methods together. Flames and Mango tied a rope to Lemony's front bumper, while Violet pushed him from behind. The cars worked together, their engines straining as they slowly made their way up the steep path. It was slow going, and they had to take frequent breaks to rest and catch their breath. But they were determined to keep going, knowing that they had to work together to reach their destination. Finally, after what seemed like hours, they reached the top of the hill. Lemony's engine was still sputtering, but he was grateful to his friends for helping him through the tough spot. The cars celebrated their victory, knowing that they had overcome a major obstacle. They felt closer than ever, having worked together to solve the problem. They knew that they had each other's backs, no matter what lay ahead on their adventure. As they continued on their journey, the cars felt a newfound sense of camaraderie. They knew that they would face more challenges along the way, but they were ready for whatever the road had in store for them. They were on an adventure, and nothing could stop them now. Part 3, A Thrilling Climb. The road became steeper and narrower as the cars continued their ascent up the Hemely Mountains. They had to navigate through sharp turns and hairpin bends, their engines roaring as they pushed themselves to their limits. The scenery was breathtaking, with snow-capped peaks rising up into the sky and jagged cliffs dropping down into the valleys below. The cars could feel the excitement building within them, knowing that they were about to tackle one of the most challenging parts of their journey. As they rounded a particularly tight bend, they saw the road ahead rise up steeply, disappearing into the clouds. The cars took a deep breath, knowing that this was the moment they had been waiting for. Hemely, who had regained his strength after the rest, took the lead once again. Violet, Flames, and Mango followed close behind, ready for whatever lay ahead. The cars shifted gears, their engines roaring as they surged forward. The road became steeper and steeper, and the cars had to work hard to maintain their momentum. The air grew cooler, and the cars could feel the clouds closing in around them. They could barely see the road ahead, but they continued on, trusting in their instincts and their driving skills. As they climbed higher, the road became narrower, and the drops on either side became steeper. The cars were pushing themselves to their limits, but they knew that they had to keep going. They were on an adventure, and they were determined to reach the summit. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, they saw the peak looming ahead. The road flattened out, and the cars let out a cheer as they finally reached their goal. They parked at the summit, looking out at the panoramic views. They could see for miles, with rolling hills and mountains stretching out beneath them. The sun was setting, casting a warm golden glow over the landscape. The cars celebrated their achievement, knowing that they had worked together to overcome the challenges of the mountain. They were tired, but they were also exhilarated. They had reached the top, and they knew that they were capable of anything. As they prepared to head back down the mountain, the cars knew that the journey wasn't over yet. But they were ready for whatever lay ahead. They had each other, and they had the spirit of adventure within them. And that was all they needed to keep going. Part 4, The Return Home. As the sun began to set, the cars started their descent down the Hemely Mountains. They were tired from the long climb, but they were also excited to be heading back home. The road was much easier going down, and the cars were able to relax a bit more. They rolled down the mountain, the wind in their grills and their engines purring contentedly. As they neared the bottom of the mountain, the cars noticed something odd up ahead. There was a group of cars parked on the side of the road, looking worried and confused. The cars slowed down, wondering what was going on. As they got closer, they saw that one of the cars had a flat tire, and the others were trying to figure out how to fix it. Without a second thought, the 4 friends pulled over to offer their help. Hemely used his jack to lift the car up, while Violet and Flames worked together to change the tire. Mango offered words of encouragement, cheering the other cars on. The group worked together, and in no time at all, the tire was changed. The other cars were grateful, thanking the 4 friends for their help. As they continued on their journey home, the cars reflected on their adventure. They had climbed a mountain, overcome obstacles, and helped others along the way. They knew that they had grown stronger and closer as a result of their journey. As they pulled into their garage, the cars smiled at each other, proud of what they had accomplished. They had gone on an adventure, and they had succeeded. But most importantly, they had done it together. And as they settled in for a well-deserved rest, the cars knew that they were ready for whatever adventures lay ahead of them. They had each other, and they had the spirit of adventure within them. And that was all they needed to keep going. The end. Do you want to hear more stories? Then hit the subscribe button to follow our channel, so you never miss another daily story. And keep listening now, as more stories will play shortly.